Grace and peace to you from God. In this video, we will talk about Allah's of Islam position on Israel. Is Allah more Zionist than the Zionists? We will talk about how the God of the Bible fulfilled his promises to Israel. Please, before starting, like and subscribe to the channel and activate the bell button to receive new channel updates. The question is, why was Palestine not mentioned even once in the Quran, while Israel was mentioned more than 40 times? O children of Israel, remember all the favors I granted you and how I honored you above the others. Sura Al-Baqarah 2:47. We see in this verse Allah honored children of Israel. Let's continue. Muhammad, the Prophet of Islam, did not mention Palestine even once because in his midst it did not exist. But Israel is mentioned more than 40 times. This is why Israel prevails in the Quran. Palestine disappeared. The author of the Quran did not expect what would happen after 14 centuries and how the conflict over Palestine would be so intense. Therefore, he did not care about the topic. He did not even say that Palestine is a right for Muslims that God promised them. Rather, he said that God bequeathed the land to the Jews. He said to the Jews, "O my people, enter the holy land which Allah has destined for you to enter. And do not turn back or else you will become losers." Sura Al-Ma'idah 5:21. God wrote this verse for the Jews. Muhammad has been a student since he was 12 years old under Bahiri al-Rahb. After that, his uncle continued to take him every year to Bahiri on a trip to the Levant. After his uncle was unable to travel for a long time, a servant of Khadija's named Maysara took over. Then Muhammad married Khadija, who belonged to a Nestorian family whose priest was called Waraka bin Nawfal. From Waraka, Bahiri, and the neighboring Jews, Muhammad heard biblical tales of the Promised Land. He knew that God wrote it for the Jews. When he claimed to be a prophet, this idea appeared in his mind. This idea took its roots from his memory. It was not in his memory that this land belongs to the Palestinians, but for the Jews. Therefore, we find in the Quran an emphasis that the land belongs to the Jews and not to the Arabs. Many narratives confirm that God bequeathed the land to the Jews. Not a single narrative says that the land of Israel belongs to the Arabs. As for Palestine, it is not mentioned in the Quran. The reason is that the name was not common in Mecca. The ancient Arabs had no interest in this barren place under Roman rule. Therefore, the narrator did not inherit anything from his prior memory except what crept in from the inheritance of the Muslim sheikhs from the Holy Land of the Jews. It appears that the writer of the Quran did not care about Palestine except to the extent that the teachings of Bahira, Waraka, and some Jews influenced him. He embraced the idea of the temple and called it Al-Aqsa Mosque. Therefore, he told people that he had gone to Al-Aqsa Mosque. They narrate that he told them that he prayed there with the prophets and tied his chariot, the flying animal, to the wall so that it would not escape. When Amr ibn al-As captured Jerusalem, his followers went in search of the described mosque. When they did not find a single trace of any mosque, wall, or mule stall, some of them thought it was the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. But Amr, who apparently converted to Islam along with the trend, realized the truth. Amr, who had memorized what Muhammad said about his space journey well, left the church, walked 400 meters, and prayed in the open air. He told them to build the mosque here. They built a small mosque known today as the Al-Omari Mosque. Dozens of years later, during the days of the Umayyad Abd al-Malik ibn Marwan, he built the Dome of the Rock and several additions were made to form what is known today as Al-Aqsa Mosque, the Umayyad Mosque, which the Shiite Khomeinis want to liberate from the Jews. This mosque was built after the death of Muhammad. The choice of his place was not deliberate, but rather just a spontaneous choice by Amr. The Quran, which is the most important book for Muslims and no two disagree on it, clearly refers to the Jewishness of the land of the prophets Israel. As an example, but not limited to Sura Al-Ma'idah, verse 21, "O my people, enter the holy land which God has ordained for you." It brings together the Islamic interpretations considered by the three Islamic schools of thought, Shiites, Sunni, Ibadi, provided that what is meant by the word, "O my people," is the children of Israel and the word, "Holy Land," is the land of the Prophet Israel, the grandfather of the Jews. Also, in Sura Al-Ma'idah 7, verse 137, there is a clear and blatant divine confirmation of the Jews' entitlement to their land and their oppression, and so we made the oppressed people successors of the eastern and western lands, which we had showered with blessings. In this way the noble word of your Lord was fulfilled for the children of Israel for what they had endured. And we destroyed what Pharaoh and his people constructed and what they established. What is interesting to note is that God mentioned in his Quran more than 40 times the words, the children of Israel, the land of Israel, the Jews, not to mention the hadiths of the Prophet Muhammad and his successors, which mention these terms hundreds of times. In contrast, there is no mention of the word Palestine in the Quran or in the hadiths of the Prophet Muhammad and his successors, or the word Bani Arabs. Historical references and reliable sources, whether Arab or Western, confirm the continuity of the presence of Jews in these lands for thousands of years before the arrival of other nationalities there. My reader friend, you can review the history of Ibn Kathir, Al-Tabari, Al-Qurtubi, the history of Imam Al-Bukhari, Ibn Asakir according to the Sunnah, the books of Al-Ayashi, the book of Bihar al-Anwar, the book of Al-Kafi, and other sources. Historical among the Shiites in order to confirm the validity of what we are aiming at. Despite the tragedies, massacres, and various persecutions launched against the Jews throughout history, they did not give up their quest to return to their land, beginning with the Babylonian captivity and ending with Hitler's massacres. It should be noted that I do not know the reason for some people's hatred of the word Israel, when it is supposed to be. The word Israel is one of the sacred words for them because it is the title of one of the great prophets whose name is mentioned in the Quran, Prophet Jacob, and you, my reader friend, can browse the Quran and the Prophet's hadiths in order to find a huge amount of praise for Israel, Prophet Jacob, but in contradiction to the Quran and the commandments of the Prophet Muhammad, you see them insulting, cursing, and uttering the most vile words and sentences about Israel, the Prophet Jacob. In addition, God made a covenant with the children of Israel. So where did the covenant go? In Sura Al-Baqarah 2, verses 83 and 84, and remember when we took a covenant from the children of Israel stating, worship none but Allah, be kind to parents, relatives, orphans and the needy, speak kindly to people, establish prayer, and pay alms tax. But you Israelites turned away, except for a few of you, and were indifferent. And remember when we took your covenant that you would neither shed each other's blood nor expel each other from their homes, you gave your pledge and bore witness. And remember when we took your covenant that you would neither shed each other's blood nor expel each other from their homes, you gave your pledge and bore witness. In Sura Al-Baqarah 2 verse 63 said, and remember when we took a covenant from you and raised the mountain above you saying, hold firmly to that scripture which we have given you and observe its teaching so perhaps you will become mindful of Allah. Where did this covenant go? There are Muslims who will say that the children of Israel broke the covenant because the children of Israel disbelieved in Muhammad. We respond and say that the charter did not mention belief in Muhammad. As for the children of Israel's obedience to God, that applies to Muslims. Which country applies Sharia law in its details? Didn't Muhammad say, indeed, the children of Israel split into 71 sects, and my nation will split into 72 sects, all of them in hell except one, which is group. In the Quran, God gave Israel to the children of Israel and made covenants with them. This is what shows that God was a Zionist, and more than that, He is the one who created Zionism according to the Quran. So why this hatred of Zionism on the part of Muslims? Shouldn't a Muslim respect God's covenants and promises? As a Christian, I say that Muslims and Israelis need Christ for peace, because without Christ there will be no real peace between Muslims and Jews. And for Christians that we need to be peacemakers. Matthew 5 verse 9, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. As Christians, we are called to pray for Muslims and Jews for their salvation and spiritual and material well-being. Now let's talk about the actual Israel. And this is a chance for Muslims to think about how God keeps His promises in the Bible. Let's see some of those prophecies. The prophecies concerning the return of Israel in the Bible are primarily associated with the re-establishment of the nation of Israel in the modern era, particularly the formation of the State of Israel in 1948. These prophecies are often found in the Old Testament, especially in books like Ezekiel, Isaiah, and Jeremiah. The re-establishment of Israel is a topic of great significance and debate among theologians and scholars, and interpretations may vary depending on religious and theological perspectives. Here's a brief overview of the prophecies and their perceived fulfillment. Ezekiel's vision of the dry bones. Ezekiel 37. In this well-known prophecy, Ezekiel is shown a vision of a valley of dry bones, which represent the house of Israel. As he prophesies to the bones, they come to life, signifying the restoration and revival of Israel. Many see the formation of the modern state of Israel as a fulfillment of this prophecy, as it symbolizes the return of the Jewish people to their ancestral homeland. The regathering of the Jewish people. Various prophecies in the Old Testament speak of the regathering of the Jewish people from the nations where they were scattered. For example, Jeremiah 32 verses 37 to 44 speaks of God gathering the people of Israel from exile and returning them to their land. Isaiah's prophesies of the restoration. The book of Isaiah contains numerous prophecies regarding the restoration of Israel. Isaiah 66 verses 7 to 8 is often cited, where it is said that a nation is born at once, which some interpret as the sudden establishment of the state of Israel. In the end, we must pray for the Israelis and for the Muslims. We must pray that the Lord Jesus will include them in peace, spiritual peace and civil peace, and that the wars between them will stop. If you found this video informative and thought-provoking, we invite you to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments section below. And share the video with your friends and your families. God bless you all.